Hello, friends. It's time for Talk Fort Dodge, the show that uncovers the stories behind the houses and the heart of our community. I'm Jeremiahjcondon.
And I'm Todd McCubbin, and today we are here with Jesse Ulrich and Josh Porter. But before we talk to them, let's get some quick market facts.
We got some fun facts. 1867, Russia sold Alaska to the U.S. for just $7.2 million. That was 2 cents an acre.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good return on investment there.
Yep.
We'll talk about ROIs later.
They thought it was a frozen wasteland, and it turned out that there was gold, oil, and timber up there. This next fact is kind of interesting because I see this over on the south side all the time. The houses with the eagles on them.
Yep.
Well, you know how we've had in the past had the red door theory where people would paint their door red when their mortgage is gone?
Yeah, it was a European thing. We talked about that in England and Scotland.
Yeah, so in America, it's like a huge thing that people would put the big silver eagle on over their garage after they paid their mortgage.
Oh, really? That's a cool idea.
I've always seen those, and it's like, why? There's a lot of eagles that are very similar, but you know, like, what does that mean?
And the little houses on the south side, especially when we were growing up, you saw a lot of them because that was a big thing. I don't think it's as big now for people to pay off their mortgage because people are a little more transient and they move more often. But back in the day when all those guys were working at the mills and they had been there for 20 years and they paid their house off, that was a big deal.
It's like time to put the eagle up.
The Baptist church on the south side, they have some cool pictures when they paid off their mortgage for the church. It was the African American Baptist church down there. They literally had a mortgage burning ceremony.
Wow,
where they
I've heard of those.
The mortgage.
Yep.
And they've got pictures. Right. It's really neat.
That's a neat idea.
In South Korea, there is a one-of-a-kind toilet-shaped house known as Mr. Toilet House. The guy who built it was very passionate advocate for better public restrooms. This quirky structure now serves as a museum dedicated to the history of the evolution of toilets. And that is the picture of the house. It's a giant toilet bowl.
It'll be in the comments so you can check it out.
There you go. And the last thing, if you show up to someone's house to give them a housewarming gift, gifting a knife for housewarming is considered bad luck in most cultures. According to superstitions, a knife symbolizes severing a relationship and cutting ties with the giver of the homeowner. But if you still want to give knives, you're supposed to give them a penny with it, and then they give you the penny back. So then technically it's not a gift.
You sold it to them.
You sold it to them for $1.
For the record, penny. I have not given or sold many knives as of late. So yeah, you got me on that one.
And I don't remember moving in and getting a knife.
No.
Or a penny.
Yeah.
So
just mediocre neighbors.
A plate of cookies.
You're going to have to look at the wedding gift list and find out who gave you the knives and see if they're still in your life.
Right.
That's right. Awesome. Well, do you guys want to take just a second to introduce yourself? Jesse, if you want to start because you're closest to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse Ulrich, and I am the serving as the president of Iowa Central Community College. I'm in my 5th year at Iowa Central, and prior to that, I was the superintendent of schools for Fort Dodge Community School District. I grew up in this region. West Bend is my hometown. Got 4 wonderful kiddos, 3 girls and then a boy. So it is a busy time of year.
Awesome. Tell us about your chili because you beat me with this chili twice.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but Todd, since you did, I do have a famous chili, and it is a sweet, I call it the pork blaster chili. So it's got a nice mixture of various types of pork, as well as some spices, and then a sweet touch to really draw in the people who even don't like the spicy to say, boy, that's really, really good. So I just made a batch this last weekend.
Perfect. I might have to get some from you.
Yeah.
I can try to match it for the next chili cook-off.
Todd might murder me for this, and this is so off topic, but I have to tell you. 2 weeks after the chili cook-off that you guys probably had, that was that Iowa State game.
Yep.
It was a really cold game, and I had the kids with me, so Todd told me I could go inside his camper and watch his YouTube TV. Well, I thought it'd be fun to see what Todd and Joyce watch, like look at their past things. They're really boring, by the way. But what was hilarious is there was like 4 videos in a row on how to make chili and how to make it better and how to
researching.
I was doing homework.
He was doing homework.
We have these huge bags of dried chilies at home right now that we're starting to practice.
Trying to amp up for the competition.
Right. Awesome. Josh, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, Josh Porter, superintendent of Fort Dodge Community Schools. I'm going into year 3 as a superintendent. Been back in Fort Dodge for 4 years now. married. My wife teaches high school health at the Fort Dodge Senior High, and we got 3 kids, so 14, 12, and 8. We're really busy as well. Jesse and I text often about where are you at this weekend and who's where, and every once in a while we pull up our Life 360s and
divide and conquer.
Yeah. I remember one weekend we pulled them up, and I think we had someone out east, west, and then in Fort Dodge. So it's not a bad weekend. So it's just always busy. So
I get phone calls from him every once in a while, Schlegel's every once in a while. Hey, can you pick up one of the kids? And so Joyce and I are empty nesters, so we're kind of the, hey, can you go get one for me person? And it's kind of fun. Yeah, so if you both need somebody, we're usually out and about. Joyce works from home, so. Awesome. So one of the things with community schools, you just won a financial award. And that's going to tie into what we talk about later. Can you talk about that just for a second?
Yeah, I think we got an award for National Financial Excellence. Brandon Hansel's our CFO. He's been in that position, I think, about 13, 14 years now. Jesse, he worked with Jesse as well, and Jesse can attest to it as well. That our business practices and our financial stability as a district has been top notch. A lot of that is, how we use our money as a school district. How we treat the community as well, as far as balancing our taxes and being appropriate with that. And, I think for the last 10 years, actually, the school's portion of the taxes have went down. This last year, I think it was a little bit of adjustment up. But even when we passed the previous bond in 2016, that hiked the taxes up. Since then, that tax levy, that dollar amounts went down. So tribute to the business department and Brandon.
Yep. I just wanted to bring that up because the subject we really want to talk about today is you both have a referendum coming up on the next ballot.
Yep.
And I don't know, can you guys just try, what is it? Just explain in layman's terms, what are we doing?
Good.
Yeah, so for Iowa Central, we are renewing a bond. The original bond was passed in 2008, and that would have helped build the Triton Cafe and the Student Resource Center and the Biohealth Science Building, which is used all the time by our community for our forums and those types of things in a part of our healthcare strand. And so what's happening is that is going to be coming off of the book. So we're going back out to the voters to ask for permission to extend that out another 15 years. And by extending that out 15 years, that would bring in $35 million. And what we would be doing with that $35 million, and I wrote this in my letter to the editor here a few weeks ago, there's not a day that goes by where I'm out in the public, I'm in a community, I'm talking to patrons and business owners where they don't at some point in the conversation say, how do we get more kids into their profession, and how do we get more workforce training done within our community? And so what we're really doing with this $35 million is a couple of different things. Number one, we're going to be building a new Center for Ag Science on the intersection of Highway 169 and Business 20, where the old Budget Host Hotel that opened.
That's a great place.
That's a great spot. So the first thing folks are going to be seeing when they come into our community from the west and from the south is this beautiful building that's going to tie in campus and really
it'll be like an advertising board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so by moving the ag sciences out there, and by the way, we just started a vet tech program. That's where we're going to be ag businesses, meat science, all that stuff. Vet tech is literally full in our second year, and so we're already looking to expand that out. But by moving that out of our art and applied science building, we're then going to be able to move some walls around and expand our HVAC training facility and expand our plumbing facility, buy new equipment for our welding. It'll also be in the same building where we can then expand our dental hygiene, so we can take on more dental hygienists every single year, as well as our dental assistant. And those are two different programs. The dental assistants are the ones who literally hand the dentist the instruments while they're doing their thing on your teeth. The dental hygienists are the ones who are actually cleaning your teeth. But I think what people don't realize is the biggest need in our region is workforce training, but the most expensive programs are workforce training. When I replace our dental hygiene chairs, literally just to replace the 15 chairs is $1 million. Wow. Yeah. And so for community colleges, the way that our financing works, I receive about $950,000 a year to pay my utilities and make any infrastructure improvements that I have. And that's across my 9 counties and 58 buildings. So Newsflash.
That doesn't make it.
It doesn't go very far. So this bond referendum that is extending it out. It's a fairly small investment on most people's part to be able to do something really big for workforce development within our region.
Awesome. And we know, trying to hire a plumber, trying to hire an HVAC, they're all looking for people. I worked with a couple industrial maintenance companies recently, and both of them are like, we love Iowa Central for getting these people and training them, and we get a lot, Decker Truck Line, all those guys.
Yeah.
And when you back that up and say that it was for the Triton Cafe originally, like what an awesome facility that is.
Yeah.
I went to meetings out there and had lunch, and it's like, gosh, that's great.
Yeah. And what we're really proud of when you look at Iowa Central, number one comment that we get from alumni or community folks who haven't been out there is, holy cow, how it's changed in the last 20 years. And reality is we have a mini community out there. We have 1,200 students who live full-time on our campus. The revenue that they're bringing into our city because they're buying food here, they're going out to eat, they're buying clothes.
Every other year, I have one parent buy a house for their kid.
Yeah.
So I do see that. Then they sell it when they leave, and they call you because they don't know anybody else.
And one of the proud facts, two things that we're really proud of. Number one, of the students who graduate, 77% are staying in our region from Iowa Central. And given context that that's a big number. That's a big number because only 35% actually start from our region. Yeah. So it's a draw. And number two, Iowa Central, economically speaking, we affect 1 out of every 26 jobs in our entire 9-county region. So we have 1,200 employees across the 9 counties and adjunct, et cetera. So this small little investment makes a huge impact for Fort Dodge.
Yeah, we're both Iowa Central grads, so we gotta do that.
Everybody here's an Iowa Central grad.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we do well.
This is the Triton Times,
yeah,
right?
I know. That's what I said. So I think it was a 2001 or a 2001 grad. So just thinking back to when I was in school there, I thought it is. I mean, I've seen lots of junior colleges. When I wrestled there in 2000 or 99 and 2000. We traveled all over the place. It was probably one of the best junior colleges in the nation at that time. Mm-hmm. It's definitely hands down. I would challenge someone to take me to a junior college that matches what Iowa Central has to offer, from facilities, from programming to staffing, hands down anywhere.
And what's really starting to come through is the positive culture that we have. Yeah. We were just tagged, we were top workplace for 2025, but not just the top workplace. We're actually the #1 educational entity in the entire state for large division. And at the end of the month, they're going to be coming out to let the nation know we're actually number 9 in the entire nation. So
that's cool.
The quality of people and the climate and culture that we've got on campus to serve our students and to train that future of our workforce is second to none.
We had your football coach on here, and he sounded like a mini Campbell.
He did sound like a mini Campbell.
Yeah, Coach Montalto.
He's good.
Coach Montalto is fantastic, and he's been great for our students, and he's truly one who he gets community college students, and he's passionate about getting them to the next level, whether that's on the field or wherever they're going in life. So we're blessed to have him.
He's great.
Awesome. Yeah. Josh, tell us a little bit about what yours is doing.
Yeah, so some similarities, right, from Iowa Central to Fort Dodge. We're extending our bond as well. So in 2016, we had a bond for Duncombe Elementary. I think they redid the wrestling room. They did all the vestibules at the front, part of the safety procedures for the elementaries. So we're really we're going after $42.04 million. They like us to be exact with when we're using those
accountable.
Things. Yeah, accountable, right? So and we're doing the same thing. We're extending it. And what I try to share with people is you're not going to see a change, right? So you're not going to see any change in what you're doing and paying in taxes every year. It's no tax increase for Iowa Central and us. With that, we're going to be able to address academics. So there's 3 key components I think that are really important for mainly for high school. So all this is going to the Fort Dodge Senior High, academics, activities, and athletics. Right? That's what drives everything. The reason we're there every day is for academics. But when you start thinking about participation, 75% of our kids are participating in something, whether it's an activity or an athletic event or a club of some sort, right?
Yep.
When we go out to these things, you'll probably hear Jesse and I talk sometimes about the impact on kids, right? What is the impact on kids? How many kids is it going to service? So from the academic portion, we have an upstairs second wing. If you graduated from Fort Dodge Senior High, it looks the same. And I don't care what year you graduated from there, it looks the same. So I was talking to a group group of retired teachers last week at Grace Lutheran Church, and one of them had graduated in 1972 and took a visit to the high school and said, the upstairs looks exactly like it did when she graduated in 1972.
That might be the only place in Fort Dodge that looks the same as it did in 1972.
Correct. And what I try to tell people is like, you can only go so long without making an upgrade. So we've done some small things at the high school.
Great ROI though.
Yeah, right. We've done some small things, from the English pod to social studies to the library. The cafeteria looks really nice. We added the auxiliary gym. We just have some other portions of it that really need some attention. No one likes to talk about heating and cooling, but heating and cooling help make the classroom comfortable, make the teachers comfortable about when they're teaching. It probably didn't matter in the early 90s and 80s, but it matters in 2025.
Yeah, it does.
I owned a restaurant and the Mid-American bill sucked.
Yeah. Right. So we're going to be able to improve east and west classrooms, which is, that quarter-mile hallway that we have at Fort Dodge Senior High. You're talking about pretty much every classroom that's aligned on that end. And then on the other side of the building, then you have the upstairs. Another portion of it is CTE. So almost like streamlining into what Jesse is doing at the college. We're trying to get kids ready for the workforce. We literally went out and hired somebody specifically to figure out what's going on at this manufacturing place and bring it into the high school so they can start at Fort Dodge Senior High. They can either go right to the workforce, they can go finish their degree at Iowa Central, whether that's welding, nursing, and then turn around and go right into the workforce. So we know that every kid's not going to go to college. We know that every kid may not go to a 4-year college. So Jesse would probably know the percentage, but there's a high percentage of kids that go from Fort Dodge Senior High. They either take classes while they're in high school or they leave Fort Dodge Senior High and go to Iowa Central. So
65 to 72% per year.
And if you're looking for a high-paid job right out of high school, like go into the plumbing program. Like you can make a good living
absolutely.
almost immediately.
Yeah, so you're going to see
solid living.
You're going to see that career technical education area change a lot, right? We've been able to find 3 good instructors. Jesse's over 9 counties. He can tell you that there's a lot of schools that really struggle. We've been really fortunate to find instructors as far as welding, woodworking, automotives. Those are really hard to find sometimes. We've been able to do that. Those areas, much needed HVAC, much up needed graded equipment, things like that. Then we have the fine arts piece. So we have the Little Theater. Little Theater is little, but it's old, right? It's got some
that hasn't changed at all either.
It has not changed at all. So it still has the old sandbag curtains. The lighting system is really old. So those are things that just need to upgrade with the times. But we have to fix the heating and cooling first. We have to fix the roof because we have water issues. There's some spatial issues. There's a lot of little tiny rooms that are around there. To be frank, our theater department and our musical we put on are top notch every year.
Yeah. We have Shelley Bada Fun. I think it's our most viewed. Hopefully this one will beat Shelley's. Shelley talked about the fine arts in Fort Dodge and how it is. It's amazing. I mean, we have more musicals and plays in this tiny community than they do in communities 5 times our size.
What I constantly get from her is we have 60 events every month.
Yeah.
Having to do with the arts.
Yep. There's always something to do.
People who say there's nothing to do here, I don't know what rock they're hiding under. I mean, there's things to do.
It's like I can't get home every night
Right.
because there's so many things going on.
Things I want to do. Oh, I had supper at Willow Ridge last night and it was amazing. So it's just stuff like that.
Yeah.
That other people don't realize is here.
Yeah,
No.
and the last piece is the athletic piece, and so we haven't talked about that one a ton, but the weight room was built in 2001. It doesn't really have proper heating and cooling, so things rust in there. It's not temperature controlled. Also in 2001, probably the only groups lifting were football kids at that time. Lifting really just wasn't a big fad. I graduated in '99. We didn't have a weight room. We had like maybe one.
I remember the weight room was behind the auxiliary gym.
Auxiliary
there had
gym.
a curtain up
there was
with
just
a couple
really really wasn't talked about. But right now we're cycling 140 to 180 kids a day through the weight room. Those spaces change, so we know that we're not going to be able to build facilities like maybe some of these large schools in Iowa when you talk about Waukee Northwest or Valley and some of those places. But I do think we can provide a really good product right here in Fort Dodge. I remind people that we share things with everybody. We have St. Ed kids come over. The swimming pool is on there. The swimming pool has some needs. Swimming pools are expensive. If you own one, it's hard to upkeep a swimming pool.
Just have that silly hot tub that.
Yes. And our whole pool needs replaced. Within the next 3 years. So they've estimated $6 to $9 million just to fix the pool. But we share swimming with Algona, Humboldt, Webster City, St. Ed's, Manson, all those areas. So we have a lot of kids that come in from the area that use these facilities.
And tell me, both of you, about the recruiting aspect, about having both Iowa Central and Fort Dodge Senior High, and the not having a pool all of a sudden is going to be a recruiting issue, not for everybody, but for a couple of people.
Right.
Not having an up-to-date weight room is important. On the Iowa Central side, having the stuff you guys are doing, what does that do for people and students coming to the area, families and parents?
Yeah, I love the question. Well, what's your accountability? I get that a lot, and well, it's really simple. If I don't have an up-to-date campus that is attractive to parents and students when they're making their educational decision, then they don't come. Right. So if I have less students, then I don't need as many teachers and faculty and staff. And so then it just begins to, kind of snowball. Iowa Central is very proud of the tradition because we hit rock bottom in the early 90s. But at the same time, we've been the fastest growing community college over the last 20, 25 years. Yeah. And, we want to keep that going. We're the 5th largest community college in the state right now but actually we're number 1 in lowest population. I mean, the other colleges that are our side are metro areas with 100,000 people, and one is drawing from a multi-million dollar metro across the river. So what we have to do is twofold. Number 1, get kids to our programs, and then number 2, make sure when they are here that we're doing all those things to make sure that they're successful. We're proud of the fact that we are above the state and the national averages in all of our graduation rates, retention rates, and all that. In our career technical education fields, our MLT, our healthcare strands, we've got a couple of different programs that are going 10 to 12 years in a row where we've got 100% board passage rates, which is just as unheard of.
That is unheard of.
So not only do we have a great quality campus that we need to keep going, we're bringing in great students who are staying within our region, and we know that when they graduate from Iowa Central, that they're trained to be able to start that job on day 1.
You're going to love this. My wife was at a dinner one night, and they asked where she went to school, and she went to Iowa Central for 2 years for nursing, and then Mount Mercy, and then degree at Iowa, and then all those things. And so she's going over that, and they're like, you went to Iowa Central? When this person had like all these things, she's like, I guarantee I'm a better nurse than you are. And don't you even diss Iowa Central now, or I will take you down.
Well over 95% of nurses in the state are coming from community colleges. So it's we're the number 1 workforce provider our state has in various areas.
Which piggyback on that, I have a podcast with Leah Glasgow at the end of October. We have really expanded our health occupations offerings at Fort Dodge Senior High. We have an animatage table similar to what Iowa Central has. We have 2 teachers at the high school and 2 at the middle school now, and the classes are just completely full. So the need and the want and the desire to get into healthcare is huge. So me and Leah are going to talk about that, which is helps the employment at the hospital, helps his student enrollment at Iowa Central.
We'll bring it up because I think we're interviewing here at the beginning of November.
There you go.
You look at the big employers. I mean, honestly, you look at the big ones. It's Iowa Central, it's Senior High, it's the hospital. I mean, you look at these great employers that we have to support as a community because they're tax based.
Yeah. And really, back to that question that Jesse just answered and what you asked, it probably 20 years ago, it didn't matter, but it matters now. When people move here or someone's taking a position at the hospital or they're interviewing a doctor, they're going around and looking at the facilities. When kids go on a visit to campus, what does the campus look like? Probably didn't really matter a whole lot, but that's a big thing. So, parent choice is at an all-time high, especially for high schools. So, as a high school, I think our job is to provide the best product, both from students to staffing, but also from a facility standpoint as well. I don't always want to say nice, shiny objects are like the best thing, but nice, shiny objects go a long ways, and especially if a family's coming in and taking a job or doing something and then they're touring our district, we want to be able to showcase. I take a lot of people to the middle school. Middle school is a beautiful building. Duncombe, Butler, all those facilities are really nice. But it matters more now than it ever did before. And so One of the things we want to do with this bond is be able to continue to do that and be really proud. I think it also goes in line with the development of our community, right? You look at the old mall. When I moved here 4 years ago, the mall was half torn down. You could still see Yonkers on the side. Yeah. My wife kept asking me, like, is this, when are they doing? When's this getting done? How are they doing this? And now it's like coming to fruition, right? So you see everything, see the pavilion, you see all the things that are going on. And so I think it's really good for our community. And, you look at Iowa Central and Fort Dodge Senior High, what they're doing with the bond referendum. And then you look at what our community's doing. If anybody's part of the Growth Alliance conversations, the housing, the development, what we're trying to get in for manufacturing, people may not think it all goes together, but it goes together.
Yeah, it's absolutely intertwined. I mean, and one of the things, I share often with people going across our 9 counties, we sometimes have this Eeyore mentality here in Fort Dodge. Oh, we can't have the nice things. Oh, the Metro has everything and we don't get anything. Well, guess what? We can have nice things, right, but it does take an investment, and it does take people, who care. And sometimes, like in our case with this renewal, when people actually look at the numbers, right now, what it's costing an average home in our 9-county region to extend this bond referendum is $25 a year. Okay, most of us spent that at lunch, and I'm not being belittling about it, but when you talk about, okay, if we're tired about all of these other communities having something that we don't have, then let's take a look at what we can have with a little bit of investment, along the way. And one of the things about Iowa Central's bond, it's $35 million, but that is spread over 9 counties. So it's not just coming from this area. When people look as far as tax goes, I think Iowa Central is just a little over 3% of folks' taxes here in Fort Dodge. Out in the county, I think I'm at about 6%. And that's pretty consistent across the 9 counties.
Yep. Yeah, I have this pulled up, and this is picked a random house at just over $250,000, and annually per year Iowa Central is $143, just over per year.
And that's for everything, by the way.
And that's for
is our bond, our general, everything. Because believe it or not, the way that community colleges were originally created, the theory was going to be a third, a third, a third. A third of the funding from property taxes, a third of the funding from state aid, and a third of the funding from tuition. Right now, we're actually 60% tuition, 30% state aid, and less than 10% of our total budget, including our debt service levies, is coming from property taxes. So that's a pretty good bang for your buck when you think about 1 out of every 26 jobs is being affected by that $140 a year for everything.
So when someone votes yes on this coming up, it doesn't change anything at all because because we're just continuing off of something already put into place. I think that's something people need to understand.
And what does it affect if they vote no? Just
and
does that 3% go away completely, or does it just go down a little bit?
What I will say is the way that all the levies change and the assessors' values, et cetera, if people who do vote no, I'm not guaranteeing them that they're going to see a difference. Yeah. If they vote yes, I can't guarantee they're going to see a difference.
Exactly.
And if they vote no, I can't say they're going to see a difference. But where the difference does come is when people do vote yes and it doesn't cost them anything more, it does put that right back into our economies. We've been very, very fruitful in making sure that we do our business locally. We're coming off of $40 million worth of work over the last 4 years, and all of that has been, local subcontractors, and even where we buy our vehicles and all those things, we try to make sure that we do it as local as possible to keep that economic growth right here within our region.
I do see that, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Josh, how many kids are at the high school?
At the high school?
Or altogether, all the kids, I guess.
District-wide? Yeah. About 3,400.
So you have 1,200 kids.
No, we have 1,200 who live on campus.
Okay, how many?
We serve over 6,200.
So 6,200 kids.
6,200 on the credit side. And then on the non-credit side, which is non-credit, workforce training, in business, all those types of things, we train up to about 15,000 people a year.
Oh, wow.
So we're knocking on the door of 20,000 people a year that we impact.
In a 9-county area, which everybody in that 9-county area pay for that.
Yep.
Yeah. But on the Fort Dodge side, we have a much smaller area. We're just looking at the Fort Dodge.
Yeah, our school
area.
district boundaries. Our
And
school
where
district
are
boundaries are ours. Oh man, people probably don't think it extends up through Badger, goes through Otho. Oddly enough, like as soon as you get on the other side of the country club, pretty much that's Manson.
Okay.
But those houses are closer to the high school than they are Manson. So the boundary, it's a little bit wonky. If you look at any school,
gerrymandering. Somebody should go in and fix that.
Yeah. It'd be nice if it was just a perfect square. That'd be easier for everybody.
You get this square.
But it's not. It doesn't work that way.
What kind of population do you think is in that area? There's 24,000 in Fort Dodge. You probably put another couple thousand.
Yeah,
maybe 20,
probably.
26, 27.
When we're looking at our mailing list, and I think it's about 8,500 homes.
Okay.
So that are in our district population.
So probably 25,000 people.
Yeah,
so you
average
have
3
people, people that put into Iowa Central. We have 25,000 that are going toward Fort Dodge. So that pie is a little bigger because it's a 35 all those kids and a smaller pie. According to this on the house I polled, it's about $1,500, a little over $1,500 a year go to the school for a $250,000 house.
Yep.
What percentage of that is the bond? Do you or what?
It's about $248 per thousand. So it'll be on like that house, for example, it would be about $200, $225 a year, maybe $250.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range. Then that's about the average. It's probably low 200s, I think, is what we figured our average is per home.
Okay.
And
that could be a difference between a pool or not.
That could be the difference between a pool or not.
A pool, the weight room, and like you said, you drive by that weight room, it's an eyesore. It was an eyesore when they put it up, but they had to do something.
Yeah, exactly. I think what people, I actually I was on a phone call this morning. Someone was asking me a question. He's like, I'm not going to see any difference. I'm not so sure if it did vote no, what I would be doing with the money I'm saving, because I probably wouldn't notice that either. But he said, if I can invest $200 a year so the school can have $42 million, I think that's a pretty good investment.
$15 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to make sure, I'm being really clear and transparent. I certainly respect the folks who, if they vote no and because they, are valuing their property tax, that's not my business. My business is to make sure people understand, number one, transparently, how are we going to use the funds to increase workforce training, how it's going to impact, our local economies, but certainly people have that right. And we do appreciate all of those folks who have really been coming out of the woodwork to say, boy, this isn't a lot of investment to do great things. Because again, we can have nice things here in Fort Dodge when we all work together, to make that happen.
Right.
And we have in the last 10 years. I mean, I smile every time we walk out of this room because of like the togetherness.
Yeah.
The last time you're on just talking about everything you do with Iowa Central and St. Edmunds. The next time you show up with Iowa Central.
Yeah, right.
Right. And he hasn't been on since we did it in the office, and he still has his job.
Yeah.
The next day he announced that he was going to Iowa Central.
Oops. Yeah, I was announced on.
So tomorrow
April
he might be
Fool's Day.
announcing going to Iowa State.
No. Iowa State did not call.
Okay.
So accountability and oversight. It seems to be a buzzword in town right now is accountability on spending dollars. How do people follow up on that so they can see these dollars are being spent? Where's a good place for them to go? Is it go to the school board meetings? Is it at Iowa Central?
So every time we have a construction project, it's a very public process. For us, we utilize a construction manager at risk, where we go through a process to identify someone who is going to be the general manager of the project that allows the college to have a guaranteed maximum price. So that way, hey, if things happen and change orders, blah, 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 if it gets over that guaranteed maximum price, then it's no longer on the college. That's on the general contractor. And what we're proud to say is of the last 5 projects that we've done, construction manager at risk, half the projects were done under schedule, ahead of time, and every single one of them have actually been under budget. So it's been a great process to use, especially when if you look at Iowa Central and our campus, we've stretched every single dollar, of taxpayers, dollars that we have. So we want to make sure that we're as fruitful, and it starts in the design process. Architects hate me when I show up because I start the meeting and say, congratulations, you are not going to win a single award for the building you're about to design me, because it's going to be square, there's going to be no windows, and it's going to be the boringest building you've ever imagined.
There will not be a curved wall anywhere.
Okay, and that's our starting point. But now I will tell you, the Center for Ag Science, it does have some more visual enhancements than what a typical project for us would be, simply because it is on that corner and welcoming people into our community. But we're very very frugal, so folks can go on and see the contracts on our board minutes and all of that, and really track where those dollars are going.
Well, I think we try to keep our taxes stable. And if you look at the history of Fort Dodge schools, we have a lot of really, really nice facilities. That means two things. You're using your money appropriately. I mean, we have a 20-year facilities plan. So when we started this process, we actually did the work and time to see if we just wanted to build a new high school, right? So at that point, our board and we all met and talked. We got an estimate anywhere from $130 to $150 million to build a new high school. One, we don't have the bonding capacity to even get to that dollar amount from a taxation standpoint. Two, there would be a huge hike in people's taxes. Mm-hmm. We know that that's probably not the best move to make as a school district. So very similar. You look at our facilities, really nice across the district. We have 30 plus roofs. So you have to have a facilities plan to replace a roof every year. Yep. Okay. So, and if you're not financially savvy and stable, you're not going to be able to do some of those things. And then you talk about, just the upkeep of all of that and doing the right things to make sure, in our board, you'll see, I think this last project we did at the transportation department was the first project that someone from outside of Fort Dodge has won the bid. So we take the lowest bid. That's a requirement from Iowa law. We always have probably local contractors for almost everything we do. But this was like the first time the lowest bid was from someone from outside. So, but 95% of the time, it's usually someone local. I think our local contractors love doing business with our local school districts.
Oh, they love it. Yeah.
And a lot of times what we're estimated at for a bid, their bid comes in lower, 9 times out of 10 than what we're projecting.
What I noticed when we built Fort Frenzy and some of those others is, we put out the bid process, especially Fort Frenzy, and it was kind of unique how the local people ask more questions.
Yeah.
They're right there. So what do you mean by this? What do you mean? And I think that helps them, because they know the people, they have the contacts, and they can say, hey, what do you mean by this? So I can make sure we're on the same page. Yeah. Because if you're not having those conversations, you're putting your high number in. Yeah. And I think that helps at the end of the day.
Dodger Stadium's a good example. I think we projected $5.4 million. The bids came in at like 4.8.
Wow.
Which allowed us to do a couple extra things on top of it. We're adding discus and shot put out there right now. It's getting completed, but really, I think it was because our local contractors, they wanted to do Dodger Stadium.
Oh, they wanted their name on it.
They want their name on it. It's right here in their community. It'll be very similar to the Ag Science building or projects at the high school.
Yep.
Our construction manager at risk has been Jensen Builders, and they've been dynamite. Yeah. And the questions that they're asking is always about purpose. Like, it's not about the dollars and cents. They want to make sure that the building is going to serve the students that it's intended to serve, mm-hmm. and not just in year 1, not year 5, not year 10,
year 20, 30, and 40,
year 20, 30 year, et cetera. Because, we typically design buildings that are meant to last 75 to 100 years, that can be renovated multiple times before, the end of their lives.
Hence the high school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
In layman's terms, homeowner, Joe Schmo homeowner, you have to have a home as a homeowner. Look, at some time you're going to have to put windows in the house. You're going to have to put a roof on the house. You're going to have to put siding on the house. You're going to have to remodel a kitchen, a bathroom. And most of the time when people do that, they go after home equity loan or a line of credit or stuff like that. Most people don't have the $10,000, $15,000 laying around to remodel a kitchen. Is that similar to what both of you are doing? Is, we love to do these big projects, but we can't just cash flow them out of a back pocket. We need to have a loan to do that. Is that an accurate representation?
For community colleges, the way that we're set up in funding, facility needs really are put on the premise of the 9-county region for the property taxes. When I was the superintendent for Fort Dodge, I was getting at that time $6-7 million a year for Pepple and State Penny to take care of my 7-8 buildings. Now with 58 buildings, we're getting less than $1 million to pay utilities and then take care of the buildings.
Oh, right.
So really the way Iowa has structured community colleges is it comes from three things. It either comes from tuition, it comes from private donations, or it comes from geo bonds. So we've done all of those things, because the thing is, we can't just keep putting it on students because we want, affordable, high quality and affordable, education, because you just jack the tuition rates up and then people stop coming.
And that's fewer people to fix your air conditioner and your plumbing and your,
we've done the Center for Performing Arts where we raised over a little $3 million for that facility. So we're just really trying to parlay all kinds of different funding sources to be able to get the projects done.
And kind of on a similar note, I talked about that 20-year plan. So ultimately what happens is we have it budgeted to address all the things at the high school over the next 20 years. For $42 million, we can fix them now. And so what I've shared with some people, that money isn't going to go as far over the next 20 years. If construction costs over the next 20 years are only going one direction.
What you're doing right now for $40 million is going to cost $100 million in the next 20 years.
Exactly right. And then, like I've shared with our elementary buildings and our middle school, the purpose for them as well, right? If we can wrap all these projects for the high school up into one bond, that frees up money for us to take care of our other buildings, right? So Butler Elementary is hitting 20 years old. Butler Elementary hasn't been touched in 20 years.
I can't believe it's been 20 years
I know,
already.
isn't that crazy to think?
Wow.
But guess what? Butler at some point is going to need new roofs. It's going to need carpet. It's going to need windows. And so no one buys a house and then 20 years later says, and doesn't do anything for 20 years and just says, I'm going to keep it the same.
I'm going to
They do, but they it's pretty rough. They're not going to get what they should get, and it's not usable.
Yeah. I'm going to age myself, but one of the places I lived in Fort Dodge was across the street from Butler when it was brand new, when I was going to Iowa Central Community College. So, I mean, it was a beautiful building back then. I can't imagine anything has changed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like you said, that it'll allow us to take care of those other buildings when we do that and bunch it all into one. And actually, from a financial stability standpoint, over long periods of time, it's going to save us and tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to address that, because when I'm doing group presentations and you say, hey, we're going to spend money to be able to save money, of course, everybody looks at you like you are the dumbest human being in the world. But let me explain that, because part of our $35 million is going to be going to the Webster City campus. So I've got a 1969, 1970 original building, that needs new windows, needs new roof, needs new insulation, et cetera. So by doing all of that, by updating the HVAC, et cetera, then we spend less general fund dollars operating the building because we don't need as much heating, we don't need as much cooling, everything is more efficient. We can then use those dollars to reinvest in student and workforce training and be able to keep tuition low and be able to do that. So when we say this helps save taxpayer money, we're talking on the annual general fund side of the ledger.
Yeah. Coming from a realtor side here, talking about just normal houses, we have a roof and all of a sudden you feel that there's a problem. You wait 2 years, you do nothing. After 2 years, if you would have just replaced it, there's no issue. But now you waited 2 years and now there's a leak. Now you wait another year and now that leak is getting into the wiring and it's getting into the
insulation's
drywall.
wet, the mold's starting.
Yep. So now you got mold in the attic and now it's actually in the drywall. You wait another year, so now you're 4 years into this, and all of a sudden now you have a major issue, mold. You're going to call ServPro, and you just turned a $10,000 roof into $35,000 or more. I mean, it could be.
And that's where I think this is an extremely proactive approach, right? Mm-hmm. Because if it doesn't pass and we don't do anything to the high school and we peck some things off over the next 20 years, if something significant happens there, we're going to have to rebuild, or we're going to have to build a new high school, or you're potentially looking at not actually having a pool. Okay. Iowa Central swims there. We have our high schools that swim there. We have a Young Fast program that swims there. So that's the risk that you take. when you don't have the funds up front to do some of those things.
And how many millions would it cost to build a brand new facility?
Yeah, like you said, $150 million,
Yeah,
you couldn't bond it anyway. So now
Yeah.
you're trying to.
Well, 3 years ago, Ames built a brand new high school with a pool for $115 million. We would probably need a very similar size building with a pool, and you're going to be in the 140 to 150 easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you gotta, I mean, because theirs was an open land, able to build right away. Like,
Yes.
I mean, it'd be a disaster.
Here's an interesting real estate
disaster
number. The Metrodome, the first Metrodome, $40 million to build it.
Yeah. U.S. Bank was not $40 million.
And then when Dallas built their stadium, their Jumbotron was $40 million.
Right.
And they're like, this Jumbotron costs as much as the Metrodome.
So a few months ago, we passed the EMS
Yeah.
a referendum with the fire department and both this countywide EMS. Chief Hill came to a meeting I was at, and I kind of put him through the ringer. I asked him all the questions he didn't want to answer. And after it was done, he did a great job of answering them. I really understood it better. What are the hard questions you're getting? Because you're getting these questions. People are calling you. They're asking you these things. What are the hard questions, and how can you help explain those so people understand what they're getting into?
You know, for me, it's people believing that we can do this, you know, the 35 million, and do the things that we want to do for only that minimal of an investment on their individual part. It's almost like they don't believe what I'm telling them. So I've referred them back to the website, you know, and those types of things. And I would say the other is, you know, buildings are putting a potential on expanding our programs. You know, we still have to go and try to recruit students, and, you know, and this isn't going to suddenly snap our fingers and suddenly we have enough nurses and CNA, you know, and those types of things. But it does help address, you know, those problems. And that's the biggest question that I've been getting is okay, so if we do this, are you saying you're going to have enough nurses then? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. No. You know, but it'll help. You know, so.
But if you have a nicer facility, maybe those nurses want to stay here, and then you said 70% of people stay here. So if they come here instead of going over to whoever,
we're not going to name any other ones.
Yeah,
we won't give them.
But they go somewhere else. But if you can get them here because your facilities are good, there's a good chance they
and
stay.
by the way, I do want to make sure, you know, ours is not just updating the current facility, but ours is also expanding the space for those facilities, so we can actually take on more nurses and more dental hygiene.
Because right now you can only go 10 or 12 hygiene.
I think dental hygiene is 15.
15?
It's 15 a year.
So if you can go from 15 to 20, that really helps address the issue in town,
correct.
because we know most dentists now use dental hygienists to clean your teeth, and then they come in and do their thing, and it helps them more efficient, because recruiting dentists is about impossible to this area.
Yeah.
Along with the hospital's been doing a great job. You'll talk about that with Lee, I'm too sure. Recruiting doctors here is hard.
And, you know, and I think Jesse and I would both say pretty fortunate. This is the first bond I've went through. I haven't had to go through one. Not even at my previous school districts, but we probably haven't had a ton of challenging questions. We've had a lot of people asking about what we're doing with it. We haven't had a lot of opposition. There's been a few things here or there, and, you know, we try to address those. But, you know, ours is, you know, we get, you know, well, is it fine the way it is? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, but a lot's changed since it's 2025. We educate kids different. You know, we're trying to put a better product out there, and, you know, and how kids feel in the classroom, what it looks like. You know, we still have asbestos in our high school. Yeah. You know, we have a whole huge section of lockers. Kids don't use lockers anymore. They're obsolete, right? We can't take the lockers out because we have to take out the asbestos. Well, taking out the asbestos costs more than, you know, it would take our custodial staff a day to take out the lockers, but we can't even take them out because there's asbestos underneath the tile. So it's little things like that we don't think about. You know, and at the end of the day, I try to remind kids we're trying to provide the best atmosphere and opportunities for kids, and everything's about the kids.
Yep.
Time out. Lockers are obsolete.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Obsolete.
Maybe I'm age 2 now.
Man. You know, we built that beautiful middle school, and we have some kids. We have a few kids. If there's kids in activities or athletics, they may use it to put something in there. But at the high school, man, they just got their backpacks on. They walk class to class. But, you know, to be totally transparent, you know, there's probably 50% of our population that are moving in and out of the building every day or taking classes at Iowa Central. So, you know, they don't stop at Larry's, put their backpack on, they got their laptop and their couple books, and they go to Iowa Central, they come back, and Hop in class.
Well,
so.
that's what I learned today.
Yeah.
You know, I was giving a community presentation in a different community, and I met a lady afterwards, and she was telling me about how her daughter went to Iowa Central, you know, and it was in the early 2000s after, you know, and the first bond had gone through, and so the buildings were going up, and she was talking about how appreciative she was that her daughter was able to then have that type of experience and that type of college. And then she made the comment, I really feel like it's now my responsibility to help that next generation with their programming, you know, and sometimes we lose that perspective that what we have now was given by previous generations. And so every so often when these bonds come up, it is the ability for this generation to then give to that future of education. And in our case, the future of the workforce, you know, and it's not just about shiny, you know, chasing the shiny object, but it is about building state-of-the-art facilities so that our students graduating from Fort Dodge Community School District, from Iowa Central Community College, when they enter that workforce, they're ahead of the game on day one, regardless of where they grew up and regardless of what type of money their parents had. It doesn't matter if we can provide them that opportunity to get ahead.
Yep. Well
And
said.
if we're trying to keep them here in the community, that's the
Correct.
exact type of person we want to stay, and we should cater to them.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's actually $20 a month, tops, for most people. I mean, some you know, I know when I put Fort Frenzy and Shiny Top and the rentals and everything else in there, it's probably $1,000 a month.
A little higher for someone like you.
Yeah, but it's still, you know, my house, you know, $20-25 a month, and it goes for so much.
Yeah.
So no, that's kind of a cool way to put it.
Yeah,
Remember
I
when
like
they built
how
the
you said
aquatic
that.
center, and you know the price of a happy Meal, whatever. So
Yeah.
for one pizza a month,
Yeah. There you go.
you can help your community be better.
But I love that. I'll use that. You know,
Yeah.
it's an investment in the community, and to take $200 and put it somewhere else, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Now, and the only thing I would say, Todd, because my communications person would tell me to make sure, Iowa Central's is a coffee a month. It's a cup of coffee at Hy-Vee a month for $2 and a little over $2.
For $3.
Yes. So
Yeah.
We might be a little different.
Yeah.
That's a cheap coffee.
3/4 of a
right?
pizza.
Yeah. Right.
Well, actually, as much as Happy Meals cost now. It might
yeah.
not be too far off. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate it. And this is important for our community. And I think people need to understand it well.
Yeah.
And hopefully they take the half hour, 45 minutes, whatever this was, to look at it.
And
check
if
it
people do have more questions, they can go to Iowa Central's website, and right on the top is one of our tabs is the bond. And if they click on that, they can see all the information with charts on exactly for their home what it means per, you know, annually and month, you know, et cetera. And if people do have questions, they can certainly reach out, and we'd be more than willing to sit down with them and visit about what we're going to do with it and how it'll impact them and their household.
Awesome. Thank you. And
Awesome.
I'm sure you, same there.
Yeah, same for Fort Dodge. Go to our website. You'll see all types of information. We have the financial information right on our website as well. You're probably going to see a lot of social media from these two entities over the next, you know, about 30 days or so, or a little less
27 days.
27 days
Not that
before.
this is recorded early. When this records, I think it's 7 days.
Yeah, so you know, over the next few days, so or the month of October. So, you know, but again, we're an open book. We have nothing to hide. I think we do things very responsibly, and this is another very responsible move on the district, and we're open for any questions.
Awesome.
Well, good job, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate the invite, guys.
Yep,
Take
thanks,
care.
guys.
That's a wrap at today's episode of Talk Fort Dodge.
Stay connected with us on social media and join us next time as we continue exploring Fort Dodge's stories through the lens of two lifelong Dodgers. I'm Jeremiah Condon.
And I'm Todd McCubbin, and this is Talk Fort Dodge.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. 800-805-8026 or visit our website at www.spinmarketwith2ks.com.